back to another episode of The Drink, which this month is hosting my Brown Skin Girl project. I'm your host, Mishy, and today I have the lovely Selena. Everyone, say what's up as you're listening. Selena, I want you to introduce yourself, let us know who you are, what you do, and what your passion is.
I am Selena. I am a community organizer and the host of the Hot Girls Healing podcast. So, what I do is I organize for and with my community. I create programming, curriculum, policy, whatever it is. Usually, I'm willing to tap in and help, especially if it's concerning youth, if it's concerning homelessness, especially homelessness prevention, and all things healing.
Ooh, lovely. Okay, I love to be another podcast host on the podcast. I think you're the first. So I'm excited. Mhm. Everybody else has been like musicians or, I had another woman who's she does advocacy for neurodivergent people. And so you're the first podcast host that I've had on here. I'm very excited. How does it feel to be interviewed by another podcast host? Like, you've probably done more interviews and stuff before, so you're a pro.
Yeah, actually, what got me into podcasting is, my community work, being on panels and speaking at different events. People in my network just started encouraging me to speak, and they're like, you should really say something. And I realized that I was like too afraid to really. Even when I did say something, it was like I didn't want to have too much attention or whatever I had internalized was just like if too many people, look at me or if too many people see me, like it was just like, I don't know, probably anxiety, I want to say, if I'm actually teasing out what it was. Anxiety was stopping me for a while, but just that's why it's a Hot Girls Healing podcast because this is, a lot of what I'm talking about is connected to my own personal healing journey and what
Mhm.
even brought me to podcasting or to speaking.
I love that. And you really answered my next question on how you became interested in doing podcasting, but also how did you become interested in advocacy for like the youth and community building or in
It
homelessness?
Yeah, it was just always something that we were doing. My family also experienced and overcame homelessness. So my mother founded an organization and I worked for other mainstream nonprofits. I worked for her nonprofit. I worked in early childhood education for over 10 years. So I've just always loved taking care of people and contributing to the health and of a community.
Mm, yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that a lot of the stories that I get are, their personal testimonies that have led you to move into what you have wanted to do and what you are doing. And it's beautiful work. Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your podcast. When do episodes drop? Is it weekly? Do you have more episodes, like more than just one episode during the week? Do you have multiple guests? Like, tell us how that works.
So I am new to podcasting, as I said. So I'm figuring it out. I was originally going to do bi-weekly episodes, but I am now planning on doing a lot more episodes for my first season of my podcast than I originally planned for. So now I'm like, well, dang, if I want to get these out, in a timely manner, I might need to do weekly. So I might be switching to a weekly output, but right now it's bi-weekly. I have 4 episodes out on Spotify and most podcasting platforms. And then I also have video of each episode on YouTube. So I'm out here new to it, but true to it. Okay.
I'm the same, honestly. I was doing all my kind of just like Instagram lives and then uploading them and then kind of turned into like the YouTube podcasting. People are like, "Oh, I love your podcast." I'm like, "It's not really a podcast, but I guess it is." So this is kind of my first time doing like official, I guess, podcasting. And yeah, I've had other people say, "Is it on YouTube?" I'm like, "I guess I should put it on YouTube as well." It's mostly like Spotify and Apple, but these episodes that are video, I do want to get up on YouTube. So love it. I'm so glad that we get to, know more about your podcast. I'm definitely going to put all of that info at the end of the video. You guys make sure you're following her podcast and all of her social media when we get to the end of the video, or in the details of the podcast. Make sure you follow her. So, okay, where do you envision your podcast, your community work? Where do you envision this going? It could be like within the year, it could be like past the year, it could be 5 years. Like, what is your main goal and your vision that you have for everything?
Mm. I love that question because, my podcast is an extension of my life work and my life mission, which is community healing. It's so deeply important, and it's really the root of what's going to save us all is healing ourselves. So
Mm,
my vision for my podcast is a larger movement. I'm working on excuse me, I'm working on the Hot Girl Self Love Workshop right now because self love and my self love journey has been at the root of this project that I'm working on. So I really want to extend that. I want to challenge people to love themselves first and most, because when I heard that statement, it was so radical. I felt, the first thing I thought when I heard it was like, that sounds extremely selfish. Like, I could never do that. And then I read further and they're like, if that sounded extremely selfish to you, then you are the exact person who needs to be doing that. And I was like clutching my pearls and like, adjusting my shawl. I was like, oh no, do not come for me when I didn't send for you. But I
yeah.
really had to confront that statement. I'm like,
Mm,
why do I think it's selfish to love myself first? Why would that be a bad thing? And so I really started to challenge that, and everything in my life started to change after that.
that's beautiful. So, what are some? I'm curious. What are some practical things that you have started in your own life that display self-love for you before you can go out and like, do your podcast and like work with these communities?
One of the first things I really had to do was start challenging my own negative thoughts and intrusive thoughts. Like, intrusive thoughts are a bitch. Sorry, I don't know if you be
No,
cussing them.
no, it's okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
intrusive thoughts and negative thoughts are a bitch. And in some families and some communities, these thoughts are ingrained in us. We hear them from the people in our family, from the people that we trust the most, love the most.
Mhm,
Sometimes their voices are attached to our intrusive and negative thoughts. So it started with me challenging myself and saying, I'm not going to allow anyone, not even myself, to speak to me certain ways. And if people do that, then no matter who they are, I have to do the work to distance myself, whether that's emotionally or physically or whatever it was. Because
mhm,
you don't always have the means to distance yourself in every way that you need to. But
mhm,
yeah, just I started to do what I could to be nice to myself, to treat
mhm,
myself how I treated my best friend, because I was so much more gentle, with people other than myself than I
yeah,
was with myself. And I'm
mm,
like, girl, I at least meet that standard, child. Like, you can at least be as nice to yourself as you are to your
yeah,
friends.
yes, no, perfect, exactly. I think it's a beautiful thing for you to recognize. I think a lot of us are, because I think self-love is like a huge topic now in our world. But it is hard when you haven't loved yourself very well at first, and then trying to step into like, how can I do that? What are some things that I can do to show that to myself? Um, so that's beautiful, and I love that your podcast is called Hot Girls Healing, because I think there is. Well, I want to know how you got to the title of it, and then I'll discuss like my on it.
Okay, because people do be asking me, they're like, where did this name come from? Okay, I'm a hot girl. I do hot shit. Okay, so that's where that came from. I don't like respectability politics. So the name was a direct pushback on respectability politics. And the space that I was creating, because I'm used to being in the nonprofit sector that comes with these additional layers of bureaucracy, upholding white supremacy, and a huge helping of respectability politics, especially for Black people, Black women, Black femmes. So I wanted to create a space that had the healing, because the healing is there, especially in these Black led movements, especially in these grassroots movements. The healing
Mhm,
is there, but
mhm,
it's still within the nonprofit industrial complex. So I wanted to create something that was outside of that space where we could break out of that and really say, let's just heal and let's honor ourselves. Let's be our Black ass selves and
Oh,
honor the healing that we deserve and honor the hurt that we've experienced as a community as well.
oh, that's beautiful. Yes. I was about to say, like, I think people could hear that. Obviously, you hear the term hot girl and assume a certain look, a certain vibe, a certain whatever. But like you said, like pushing back on that, on respectability politics and being like, hot girls heal too, Like we're not just, you
Literally,
know.
I remember what the first thing I ever heard about Meg Thee Stallion because I'm not good with names, so I had heard her music, but I was like, I don't know who does this, whose song is this or what have you. But I heard about her doing like a beach cleanup, and I was like, a rapper organized the beach cleanup? Like, wow, that's not something I heard of before. And I was like, let me look this person up and like see what more, And so I'm like, that's awesome. Like, we are multifaceted people. Like, that is what I've always been saying. Like, I be telling people I have a poll in my living room. I create healing curriculum for my community. You can be more than one thing. Okay. I walked into the nonprofit sector at like 21 years old. So, okay, I was a 21-year-old fully. And I still cared about my community. I cared about my community when I was 17, when I was 15, with whatever level of analysis I was able to have. And working with youth, they still care about their community. But yeah, they want to do young stuff. So it's just like really empowering people to know that you don't have to fit a prototype to be a leader in your community. That's really the point. Okay. Anybody can care about their community. Anyone has something to offer to their community, to the next person. We can all be leaders. You don't have to look a certain way or do a certain thing. I mean, you do got to do a certain thing, right? Like, you got to be helping the community to help the community, but you ain't got to look a certain way.
Right. Yes, that's the beauty. It's the beauty of duality. I think we're getting more into like that fluidity of like, yes, I can do this, but I can also do this. Like, and I can look this way, but I can also do this while looking like this. Like, it's a beautiful thing that I totally appreciate. And I love that you're pushing for that because we do get stuck. Like we personally in our own lives when we look at ourselves, get stuck in that, well, if I'm doing this, then I like so if I'm hosting a podcast, I have to kind of do this and I have to say this and I have to look a certain way and maybe I have to wear a certain shirt. Like just like we have to just be ourselves, like be yourselves, whether that be, you know, advocating for your community and like you said, having a pool in your living room and doing pole dancing. Like, oh my gosh, that is more than okay.
Yeah, it's a great full body workout. And that's another thing. I love to do things that are fun, that are fit. Like, I hate going to the gym. I have a sister who'll be in the gym for 2 hours and she thinks that just makes sense. I'm like, girl, no, I am leaving. Okay. Like, no, I want to do
Yeah.
fun stuff. I want to dance, play tennis.
Mhm.
I even
Yes.
got into jogging. Okay. If I can jog and find that interesting, then I deserve to not have to go to the gym.
Yes. In different ways. I love going to the gym. Like I do weight but I also love going to Zumba. So it's
Yes,
like different
Zumba.
ways. Yes, different ways to work out. So I love that. I love that you stated that. That's like this is who I am. This is what I do, but also I love to do these things. Like it allows for other women and other young girls to be like, yeah, I don't have to just fit myself in this one box. Especially when you're a teenager and you feel like there's so many different aesthetics and so many different boxes and you feel like if I like this then I can't like this other thing. Well, it's like you can literally like all of these things and every single day dress in a different manner or whatever it is. So I love it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so tell us 3 random facts about yourself. Could be
Um,
anything.
okay, well, one of them has to be about my little shoop shoop. I have a kitty. His name is Salem Rashad, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. He's my little love. Um, he's a black ragamuffin cat. If anyone knows about different cat breeds, yes, I did look up to see what my child is.
Good.
Another random fact about me. I actually have had locks for over 15 years at this point. They used to be much, much longer, but I recently did a really big haircut and went for the bob because they got very heavy. I got thick hair, child, and I don't know how people do it. I look at people different now. I'm like, no, I know what that feels like. That's not okay.
You can lift your head up now some, huh? It
Yeah,
feels a
look,
little.
I can wash my hair without breaking my neck now. So
I
that's
was
a
just looking at that. Yes. Beautiful.
A third fact. I was born breech. That's kind of something random that popped into my head just now. And we know about Black women and infant mortality, so I think it's pretty cool. I was born breech and at home
Oh
and
wow.
preterm.
Okay. Yes. Oh, oh my goodness. That's a miracle for sure. Like that's beautiful. I love hearing about at-home births and it just makes I'm like, yeah, it's sounding like I want to do more at home than like in a hospital. Like I just heard beautiful stories. Of course, nothing that's not painful, but like they're still beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, miraculous stories. So that is awesome. I love that. Ah, okay. So
Before they're popular.
exactly. No, for sure. So the drink is the name of my podcast. The Brown Skin Girl Project is just kind of a production underneath it. But the drink is all about drinking in a sea of wisdom that is laid out for us on the table because the drink is another name for the ocean. But it's also like when we drink in wisdom, so I put those two things together, and that's how I got my podcast name. So I want you to tell us what is a piece of wisdom that you're holding on to right now that you would like to share with us. And in the spirit of drink tradition, tell us what your favorite drink is.
Well, first, I love the intentionality behind the name of your podcast. That's gorgeous. And then a drink of wisdom. Something that I'm working on right now, I'm going to share with y'all. And that is let go of what's not serving you.
Ooh.
Easier said than done, I know. But let go of what doesn't serve you because it's holding you back from something so beautiful on the other side. Just let it go.
Mm. Oh my goodness.
Favorite drink. Oh my god, I'm gonna sound so boring, but I love water. Like it's so bomb. It's the elixir of life. I like when people say that they don't like water, I'm just like, ooh, criminal side eye, bombastic side eye, like that whole thing. Like if you don't like the taste of water, I do not trust you. If you don't know the different tastes of water depending on the brand or the source. Okay, my favorite water is spring water specifically. Yeah, I love water. It's so delicious.
Not boring at all. Water is amazing. Trust my when my sister's not feeling well, I'm like, "Did you drink water today?" She's like, "You really think everything is about?" I said, "Cause it is. You know how much of how the percentage of our bodies is water, water, water,
Literally.
water." So I totally understand. Water is amazing. Not boring at all. Everyone needs to drink water. If you don't drink water, please. This is a plug, shameless plug. Drink your water for sure. Know what kind of water, what different types of water taste like. I totally agree with you. So, Selena, thank you so much for joining me for this lovely podcast. And you guys definitely check out her podcast and follow her journey, putting all the details in the podcast little info stuff, details, whatever they call it. The description. There we go. I was like, what the
Child, I was
description?
no help. I was like, I don't even know. Like,
Underneath the podcast. Yes. Or right before you watch the podcast. So yes, make sure that you follow her journey, listen to her podcast. All the hot girls out there, this is the healing podcast for you. So please go follow her and listen to her, support her. This is what we're here to do. And you guys, I will see you on the next episode of The Drink via Brown Skin Girl Project.